Order. The Board of Supervisors work session for Tuesday, October 21st. We're in the supervisors hearing on Melody Lane. The order of relation of any item on this agenda is subject to modification at the meeting. Please note that some attachments may be updated after the agenda has been published, meaning that presentation materials displayed may be different from those that were posted online. Members of the board may attend in person or via remote conferencing. Members of the public may also attend via Microsoft Teams or the mobile app. Work sessions are a time for county staff to inform and discuss agenda items with the board of supervisors, and public comment will not be taken. Roll call. District 1, Mr. Crosby is absent. District 2,
Here.
District 3, Antonori is present. 2 of the 3 supervisors are present, and Mr. Crosby is absent. All right, so we'll begin. You want to kick this off, or do you want to kick this off? And then we'll hand it over to Christine.
Yeah, so I just wanted to let the board know we do have planning and zoning members here who will also be providing their input for the comprehensive plan. We have Jerry Gonzalez, Kim Depew, and Robert Montgomery.
All 3 districts.
I think Randall Limbog is on there. Is he on?
And Randall Limbog might be on.
Okay, cool.
So, but yes, this is the 2045, I should say, comprehensive plan draft that Christine has been working on for over a year. And now we have a very close to final draft for the board and PNC's input. So take it away, Christine.
All right.
Good afternoon, supervisors and commissioners. This overview is a joint work session for the Cochise County Comprehensive Plan 2045. The plan is a roadmap for how the county will grow and develop over the next 20 years in a manner that preserves our values and characteristics that makes Cochise County unique. Our vision is for a vibrant, resilient, and inclusive future. Vibrant means thriving communities with diverse economic opportunities. As the Commission is aware, a large percent of Cochise County residents are employed either directly or indirectly by some level of government. Fort Huachuca supports a combined workforce of a retiree community of 19,644 individuals. In comparison, manufacturing, construction, employment is low. The lack of economic diversification makes the county reliant on defense-related spending by the federal government, which can fluctuate significantly. Resilience means infrastructure and resource management that can adapt to climate challenges and stress. For example, the draft plan proposes expanding stormwater capture and recharge projects to reduce flooding risks, which are some of the challenges we are currently facing. Inclusive means equitable access to housing, transportation, and county services. For example, the plan supports neighborhood revitalization in older communities by combining road improvements, code compliance, and rental assistance programs to ensure that seniors and low-income families and young workers can find affordable, safe housing close to jobs and services. This plan is community-driven. From mid-2024 through fall 2025, we engaged with over 400 residents directly, hosted 9 public meetings, collected feedback through surveys and online tools. The top priorities identified by residents were housing affordability, preserving rural character, water security, infrastructure improvements, opportunities for youth, and economic growth. There are 2 critical steps to the community input process. The first step is prior to the drafting of the document. This is done to gather information and feedback. The second part is done after we have a draft, like we have now, and this is to provide our draft with its with recommendations to the public, hopefully educate and gather support for the document before it is ultimately finalized. Okay, growth projections, trends. We are racially and ethnically diverse. We have an educated workforce. 1/4 of the population has a bachelor's degree and higher. Approximately 18.6% of the county residents have veteran status. Their skills and trainings benefit the county. As I note on this slide, Cochise County is growing modestly at about 0.27 annually, which is far below the state average. However, this gives us the ability to shape our growth deliberately.
That's true. That is actually true. It gives us the ability to shape our growth because since we're not growing, anything we do can be designed to shape growth in that particular area the way that we want to grow it. So that was
not a knee-jerk reaction.
That's correct.
We're in a place to do things very strategically.
Right.
So our land use strategy emphasizes smart growth, focusing development where infrastructure already exists. supporting industry and workforce, investing in skills and industries that drive prosperity. We also emphasize heritage tourism, scenic easements, solar energy, as well as protecting our landscape, safeguarding natural beauty and rural character.
Now, at some point, when in the plan, we can tell you things that we have an issue with.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah, so I'll do like a broad
Okay.
overview, get through the whole thing, and then we can kind of drill down
Yeah,
and
I
go
got
through.
it. I
But I did give you a draft document.
I read it yesterday, so I have a lot of things.
Fantastic. Finally, we focus on safe, compatible land use near military areas, responsible resource management, data-driven, equitable planning to support sustainable, community-oriented growth. That's land use. There's clearly a lot more within that chapter, but again, we'll come back to that. The next element is circulation. This guides Cochise County's transportation system to support growth, mobility, and sustainability. Where feasible, it's important to preserve rail corridors for freight, trail, heritage tourism, potential future passenger services. Regarding airports, we have two. Cochise County airports that can be enhanced for more general aviation, emergency services, economic development. For pedestrian and bicycle, we support connected bike and pedestrian routes, including the U.S. Bike Route 90, the Sun Corridor Trail, supporting commuting, recreation, and tourism. Transit equity is also a priority, ensuring seniors, low-income rural residents have reliable connections. And the last two relate to roads and maintaining roadways through innovative partnerships, including public-private models. Is kind of a focus there. That's a real quick overview of transportation, but there is a lot in that chapter, and it's really all forms and how they interact. Everything from walking to planes, but every trip ultimately starts with water resource. This is our third required element. It's critically important to our desert county. It's our most pressing challenge. The county is almost entirely groundwater dependent. Well over 95% of our water comes from the ground. Municipal systems, agriculture, most private wells, all pumped directly from aquifers like the Upper San Pedro Valley and Wilcox Basin. We have declining aquifer levels, drought, intensive water-dependent uses. We have a 5-point strategy to address water. We focus on ensuring reliable and sustainable water supplies by coordinating with partners, investing in infrastructure, and exploring new sources. We emphasize protecting water quality through best practices and partnerships while promoting conservation, reuse, and efficient technologies to reduce reliance on groundwater. Long-term resilience is supported through aquifer recharge, watershed protection, climate adaptation, and flexible planning to safeguard communities against future challenges. Energy elements. Our fourth required element lays out a framework for sustainable energy that balances economic growth, environmental protection, reliable services for residents. It highlights the county's transition from coal toward natural gas and renewables with utilities like SSVC, APS, APCO expanding solar, wind, and battery storage to meet clean energy goals. The plan also emphasizes efficiency, equitable access to renewable energy, county-level policies to guide responsible siting, permitting, and community benefits of future energy projects. So those are the required elements. Now I'm going to move into the optional elements for a community our size. First up is public services and facilities. This guides planning, coordination, and management of Cochise County's essential services to support sustainable growth, public safety, and quality of life. It addresses law enforcement, detention, emergency management, fire, EMS coordination, healthcare, social services, libraries, animal control, emphasizing accessibility, operational efficiency, and compatibility with surrounding land use. The county's role focuses on coordination, support, and planning, ensuring services are integrated, resilient, and equitable access across urban and rural areas. This is specific to like emergency service provision. Housing. Housing guides Cochise County in addressing housing challenges, including affordability, quality, accessibility, the focus on both homeowners and renters. The county's housing stock is largely single-family homes supplemented by manufactured housing, and rising costs have increased renter cost burdens. Through programs like CBG Home Section 8, targeted support for colonias, Cochise County promotes safe, energy-efficient, affordable housing while removing barriers and revitalizing neighborhoods. Economic development. This is where we include policy to foster a robust and diversified economy. We specifically address military, mining, agricultural strategies. These are our local big industries. We're also looking into emerging sectors like our film industry, workforce development, broadband, and the port of entry and trade with Mexico. These are all important aspects of our economic development plan. Comp plans are required by state law. Our current plan is this one, and it is effective. It remains in place until we adopt a new one. There are certain requirements that must be included in a plan. This is a very quick analysis of those requirements. I mention that because there may be certain maps and recommendations that seem a little unrelated. For instance, the PM10 map and land use, it's required. So that's why it's there. Here is the wrap-up schedule. The draft plan was attached to this item, and you have notebooks in front of you. I don't expect there has been enough time for the board or the commission to review and provide comments, although if you have, fantastic. And I've just provided a very broad overview. This will go before the commission at their next meeting, again, on November 12th. And during that meeting is where I'd like to more specifically address the plan itself. This was kind of just the initial quick overview. I will ask the commission if they're comfortable at that time authorizing staff to post the draft to the website. We are required to do a 60-day review. That's where I ship it off to the required agencies, municipalities within the county and adjacent to us. Following that, we'll have two hearings. There's two required public hearings, one with the commission, one with the Board of Supervisors, and the board would adopt. That's big overview, big stuff right there. But that said, we do have a draft. If you have read it, if you have specific things you want to get into, I'm happy to address them now. Otherwise, subsequent to this, if you want to send comments also, or in addition, that would be fantastic.
I think I'd like to. I have all of them.
Okay.
I read it a long time when I read her answer. So one of my first things is in page 8. When you look, 1980s, you say growth has been concentrated in cities like Sierra Vista and Vincent, with most rural areas remaining sparsely populated. But Douglas is the second largest city in the county. So I was thinking, why aren't they mentioned here?
Oh, I could put it in.
Okay.
Yeah, I just picked a couple cities.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Douglas, people need to understand in Cook County that Douglas is the second largest city. And I'm so tired of hearing, where's that? What? Oh, what? Where is that over there? Is it at us?
You guys got to have like a gunfight or something down there.
I
to get
guess, I don't know. Maybe we'll have the next government come over and take us over and then they'll remember us. There you go. So that was one thing I had. Then, so do you want to go over this like page and page, or, and then as I get to the pages that I mark things down?
Well, in part, it's for the commission as well.
Yeah.
And I think I have an hour and a half. I don't
Yeah,
however.
you guys heard what I said earlier at the board meeting. My big thing is our over-reliance currently on government economics, right? Where the fort and the counties and the cities provide the vast majority of employment in the county versus private sector. And you mentioned it, it's like almost non-existent. Private sector, we've got to get on the ball with that. That fort, I hate to tell you guys, I am not getting good vibes from Congress right now. In the talks we had with Siscomani and we talked to Mark Kelly, I am really worried about Fort Huachuca. And I've seen this before, and I'm standing on the tracks, and way out in the distance, I see this light coming my way, and I know it's coming. And it's the question is, are we going to wait until it's about to run us over before we do anything, or do we have time now, which I think we do, and Christine's outlined it, that we got to start shaping our growth to offset the potential loss of that fort if the government were to brack that fort. And we've got agriculture now, that's good, and that's kind of a nice sort of second to the government jobs. Agriculture probably is the next big thing there, but we really got to start on the other sectors of the economy. Energy, definitely. I've talked to folks about the small batch reactor potential, and then there's also the new gas turbine power generation systems that are out there. Not a big fan of wind and solar.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
I'm not a big fan of those because I have not, they cost more to produce than they generate an offset in electricity. Their power density sucks.
Yep.
And they tear up, the environmentalists, sit there and cry about how great solar is, but they tear up, 600 acres of desert to put in solar panels. And then with the wind farms, especially when I go elk hunting up in Unit 10, Unit 10 is really bad now. It's like totally ruined it up there. Those things are so freaking noisy, and I just don't like them. I mean, so
Big issues that when there's a fire, we have no way of being able to deal with it. It's too expensive to keep the chemicals. We had a fire up there in Wilcox. I remember Dad saying, there's never a fire that happens, and it happened in Wilcox. They had to go in there, it's not viable because they sell all the energy somewhere else. It doesn't help our community. It doesn't lower our cost. And then they want to do it where the neighborhoods are because that's where the transformer lines are. They're not willing to put the investment to do a line way out in the middle of nowhere. They want to do it right where all the neighbors are. And I went, the other problem is with the Twin Sisters solar farm that exists. They said they would plant trees all the way around. They have yet to do that. And I don't know how we follow up and make them do that, but they should. And so, and then, the last one, it was England, and you couldn't get the guy, called the number, and it was Sugarland, a hotel in Sugarland, Texas. And they said, "Man, this is a hotel. There's no Horace Company." So absolutely, I'm so happy you said that.
the low footprint, high density power stuff. So SSVC just put in those 2 gas turbine plants up by me at the Apache plant. They fit in the parking lot. There's these 2 little, and they generate way more electricity than the solar farm across the street.
Yeah.
They actually generate more electricity than the solar farm. So, I mean, that's where I see the direction. And they're natural gas. They're pretty clean, right?
And the policy and the strategy that these energy companies and cooperatives have taken is the all of the above. So they have to
Yeah.
comply.
They're also being
with the
forced.
requirements
They're being
from-
forced by state and federal.
And green technology, this whole green technology move that happened to really push this on us, and now I think we can
Right.
step back from that.
But again, our illustrious Attorney General, when she was on the Corporation Commission, she was the one that pushed for that 30% alternative energy by 2030 or whatever it was. I forgot the date. That's been driving a lot of these power companies who will tell you secretly on the side, that's the only reason they're putting them there. Just to check that box, right? So they go to the CorpCom. They don't have to fight when they go get their rate increases to get bludgeoned because they don't have enough solar or wind or whatever. But the future, in my mind, is natural gas and nuclear.
And we do discuss it in the draft. We have included both gas, propane,
Well, when I
liquid,
read-
nuclear power.
It's very heavily solar and wind. It's very heavily solar and wind. And I don't know if you guys want to make a comment about that?
Yes, I absolutely do, please. On page 91, there's a renewable energy statement on the bottom half of the page. And if you supervisors would read that and say, are you 100% on board? Sure that you as supervisors are.
No.
No, that's why we just voiced our concern with the solar and wind piece of it as being a higher perceived push than natural gas and nuclear.
And again, for people listening, I'm not against solar on your roofs. I'm not
Right,
against
right,
solar
right.
on your windmills. I'm not against solar for the opt-out community. I'm against 500-acre farms with 2,000 panels on each acre.
There is a difference between the centralized and
Yeah.
decentralized network.
Right.
Yeah.
And what you support.
Right.
So we could put more of a focus on the other
Right.
strategies.
So I was just reading the other day that the Department of Energy just approved a new, not a small batch reactor, but a mini reactor design for use for like at universities and research and stuff like that. I mean, but it produces 250 megawatts, these little tiny nuclear reactors, and they're small. I mean, that's enough for Benson, one of those reactors. So will be enough power for like 40,000 houses. I mean, we got to start. I don't know who, the lady was here earlier from Southwest Power. That's the lady that I was talking to, you know, and they see a lot of potential in the gas side of it because not everybody's aware. We're about to put a 24-inch gas pipeline through northern Cochise County. So both SSVC and Southwest Power are looking at adding gas turbine generators to benefit from that big pipeline that's going through. But we gotta, I need help finding out who do we go to start the small batch reactor discussion. You know, that's really a thing because the Department of Energy is about to release 30 permits, the word I got, in about 2 years here. They're going to approve the new SBRs, the small batch reactors, and they're going to put about 30 permits out. Now that's nationwide. There's 30 because they're testing it, the implementation and usage of them. So they're doing sort of a first batch of 30, and then they're going to see how that affects the grid. And they specifically stated, Zeldin says he's trying to push that out where the grid is less stable, which is out in the West. And that's where we're at. We're out in the West. So the East Coast has kind of got their grid built up, and they've got the reliability of multiple power stations and whatnot. But he's trying to increase the grid out in the West here and improve the reliability of Western power. So who do we go to? Siscomani? Do we go to the power companies? Who do we go to encourage them to look hard at these small batch reactors? Because I do know two entities that are all on board with small batch nuclear reactors, but it'll get the anti-data center crowd going really nuts. But Google and Amazon are pushing for small batch nuclear reactors. Both of them are backing 2 reactor manufacturing companies that have different competing designs. And so we'll see which one gets the green light. But they want to build a data center and a nuclear power plant to power the data center right next to the nuclear power plant. That's what they're looking at.
But wouldn't it be like the energy departments or the energy subcommittees, committees on both sides of the Senate and House? I mean, maybe we start with a letter. Maybe when we go out there, we just visit them all and say, hey.
Because power density on those things is nuts. They're so small comparative to the footprint, right? So you can put this in a nice area where it's like not going to plow up a lot of desert or damage a lot of stuff. And it's not a big building. It's not like a 50-story building anymore. These small reactors are smaller buildings, and they're not as obtrusive as the old big cooling tower nuclear power plants, because these have different kinds of cooling mechanisms. So I had a picture of it. I should have brought it, but I had a picture of what they look like. They look like a 3-story building, you know, with the reactor on the inside. So I don't know. We got to look at somebody to start pushing. Kim, did you have a comment?
I think I got it now. I thought I read in the plan somewhere where it says nuclear was impractical in Cochise County, so we need to correct that.
Yeah, big.
That's about, the large scale.
Large scale is not.
And then, right,
This-
be real.
Yeah, so the small batch reactors are liquid cooled, but they are not going to use as much water as the big reactors, and they will recycle a large majority of the water, and they use fans as part of the cooling process too. So they're pretty feasible for out here.
But I did read that.
My second thought was you need to speak to NRECA. You need to find out who's lobbying and get that information.
With who? Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
You can find out who that right from SSDC. The board interface get started.
I met with the president of SSVC and he showed me, they're really going all in on the natural gas. And that's again, because for them, the infrastructure is what drives their decision making, right? So if they got the infrastructure close by and it's a fraction of the cost to add a gas turbine and run a pipeline to the pipeline, I mean, that's what those guys are looking at. So I don't blame them one bit. That's a black and white easy. I'd make the same exact business decision if it was up to me, but that's because there aren't nuclear power plants out here now. That's the thing. So I'd love to get one and put it out in Bowie, San Simon. I would just love to stick one out there to help that part of the county, because that poor part of the county is like hurting out there. So, and it'd be kind of remote, out of the way, so we don't have a lot of opposition. So, but anyways, we gotta start pushing that.
Yeah, I agree. And then I was saying the master development plan, I don't really see, talking about the situation where the fort could start to dwindle or go away. I don't see, and when I read this, a lot about the new commercial port of entry, right? I think that's the only thing we really got that's new that has so much ability to expand trade. And Sonora is just, it's huge now. It's really doing a lot with the semiconductors, with Grupo Mexico in Nacosari. It's like it used to be Phillips Dodge. I didn't realize that James Douglas created Nacosari the same time he did Bisbee. And so when we went to Nacosari, he's all over the place. So they're doing zinc, potassium, copper, on all the natural elements, mineral elements that we need. Potassium is huge, magnesium is huge, and they're doing all that. And so we really need to strengthen our trade connections with Sonora, because they're ready to go, and meeting with all these mayors, they're excited about pushing. And cattle is a major export in Sonora, and then the minerals, and then they're so connected now with ACA and Phoenix and the semiconductor and all that type of stuff. We need to look at that as opening the doors and being willing to trade. And the mayor's talking about this commercial port as not just the gateway to Arizona, but the gateway to the United States. So,
And this slide right here, you got here with the railroads, right?
Yeah.
Abandoned and active railroads. So back to Ms. Gomez's point, if we open that port of entry, if we could somehow work with Union Pacific to reopen these lines, to take some of the traffic off of 80 and 191 by putting a lot of those containers on rail, that would be a huge thing too. And then the other thing it would do is it would allow us to put an inland port in Benson for the transfer of those containers onto trucks to get onto I-10, and one in Wilcox to transfer, off of 191. So again, that's a future discussion we need to probably start having with Union Pacific and the port.
and I did have a conversation with them, and they said all they would need to do is see that there would be more traffic or more use. My concern is in the Center for Biodiversity in that lawsuit. Remember when the train spilled chemicals up in Prescott? Everyone got freaked out, and then the Center for Biodiversity came in and they shut a lot of that was line or that bed, right? Is that been released to private owners that we no longer have the right of ways for a lot of those? Yeah, I don't know why we do that.
That's
We'll have to start.
just so I don't know if you guys read the news. There was a train derailment in Benson today. 4 cars left the track at 7th Street and State Road 80. Just so you know, you bring up that point. So
Yeah, but I think we need
Anyway.
to start looking at 191, and then if it's possible to go, the old railroad that went Union Pacific towards. Because Douglas had, growing up, I took the train from Douglas to St. Louis to go to school. It was unbelievable.
I don't know who it was. Somebody brought it up. It would be nice to have this historic train ride that goes all the way around the county, right? Because
Yes.
it goes all, up where I live in Pennsylvania, my parents love they have the railroad up there that goes up through all the mountains in the Poconos to the resorts and goes back into Scranton and stuff. So this would be really cool too, is if you had this sort of get on the train in Benson and it rolls you down through St. David, it rolls you through Bisbee, Douglas, up the backside. Wouldn't that be nice? That'd be
Perfect.
that'd be kind of,
And it can be funded by private funds.
Yes.
yeah. So that would I'm just spitballing ideas here for the, trying to generate some kind of economy.
Well,
Right.
people don't know where Douglas is, like that. Because we don't have that component.
Right.
The touristy, the history, we have a lot of history, a lot of things happening, but we're not marketing, we're not promoting that stuff. That loop, that railroad, part of the infrastructure's already in place, it's just been abandoned. And
Yeah.
so. we need to
It's like
look
the
at that.
Grand Canyon Railroad, right? It's a nice little train that just goes up to the Grand Canyon back, something like that might be.
Look what it populations in Mexico. Could be a binational station there where you can import Mexican stuff.
Well, that's true too.
And put them and send them up to the interstate.
Yeah. Oaxaca just made a commitment with Douglas to have a distillery for their mezcal or something like that. And there's another distillery that's doing, I don't know if it's Bacamona, which is the best,
Yeah.
or mezcal. And right now, this is my problem. We don't have a Port of Authority board. We have a family that is 88% of what goes through that port has to go through them. So you know what that means. It's payola, right? I'm getting pushed back because all of a sudden the Port Authority board that my father started in 2008 never met. And now they just went back to the Arizona,
Commerce Authority.
yes, and reactivated them, saying they had meetings from 2014, which they did not. I'm meeting with the Yuma Regional Port Authority Board. They're bringing me the bylaws so that you have state, county, city, and then stakeholders from Grupo Mexico, whatever we want, cattle, to actually be on paper so that it's open and transparent. Otherwise, we'll never, don't you agree? It'll never go the way it should be.
It never will, but, Frank, you mentioned earlier, we were talking about Fort Huachuca and how we can be dependent on that. These are some of the things that we can do in preparation for that.
Yeah.
Be ready. And if Fort Huachuca disappears, it's all right, we're going to be all right. But all of those projects, opportunities, can create the economic difference that we need in Cochise County. We don't have that. We talk about solar panels, well, we don't like it. Why? Because in Cochise County, cattle is the big market. And the second thing that we have is bird watching. We have an international bird corridor,
Yeah.
and solar panels and wind generation have a negative impact on that. And so we need to take a strong stand about the solar fields, 160, 200 acre fields that destroy the land and the wildlife and the native vegetation.
Yeah.
And go back to the,
You don't have to sell me on it.
explore all the other new technologies like the nuclear reactor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, fear is a good motivator quite often, and I've been wanting you both have mentioned the fort shutting down.
Well, I'm not saying it's shutting down. What I'm saying is they're starting to begin indicators that are making me very nervous.
What would a scenario look like if it did that?
So if you look at other installations, there's a couple options. The federal government will sometimes relinquish the land to the local governments to turn, like Fort Ord turned into like the most premium housing lots. It was a very well-developed sort of plan that they have, but that's California, right? So there's the land out there was very, very, very expensive. So when all this land from Fort Ord hit the market, there was all these developers that were more than happy to jump in there and develop that property. I don't think that would occur here. I just, because we don't have the economy to drive building, $500,000 homes on Fort Huachuca, although that is gorgeous pristine property out there. I just don't see it happening.
Is it a phase out or is it a chop?
It's a 5-year minimum. Sometimes it takes 10 years, but what they'll do is when they bracket, first they'll tell you it's on the BRAC list, then you got to fight for it. Then it goes through the base realignment and closing commission. That's what that is. It goes through that BRAC process, which takes about 2 years, and then it gets recommended to Congress, and then Congress votes on whether or not to approve the BRAC's recommendation, because the BRAC will, Congress has the BRAC make the hard decision, and then they just vote yes or no. BRAC gets to decide what bases close and which get moved, and then they send it to Congress. Congress just does an up and down vote. Once Congress votes on it, it is 5 years to shut down that base. The Army, the Navy, whoever's Air Force, whoever's base that is, they have 5 years from that date to implement the closure, and then officially after that, hand it off. So you're going to have.
How long do you think it's to get a nuclear reactor?
Well, I'm just saying. Like, again, it is the train way down the track right now, right? So we could see it coming. Yeah, maybe we should start thinking. You know, because that day may come. I mean, maybe the train turns off. Maybe the train stops. Maybe, I don't know. But I don't like not having a plan B.
Yeah.
That's what really scares the dickens out of me, right? So we've got opportunity, right? So we got the port of entry. That's opportunity. We have to look at opportunities along the I-10 corridor. That's a big one. And then, of course, Sierra Vista. Is there a way we can shift the economy in Sierra Vista to more commercial and industrial? You know, I know the mayor down there wants the spaceport and a couple other things there, but not just that. There's other things we need to make sure that we try to push to bring down there. And I know it's an ugly word, but data centers, I hate to tell you, and then major shipping and the world is going online, whether we like it or not. That is just the brutal reality. Kim.
Sorry to interrupt, but
While protecting our rural landscapes and natural beauty.
Right.
I think we need to insert that everywhere. We need to insert that for data centers. We need to insert that for solar. We need to insert that for wind. I think you just need to put that sentence all across this plan, because what happened this morning, special use, allowing people to do something in a neighborhood that hates them, I think is a recipe for disaster. And if we had different zones to do different things, we're going to come out a lot more peaceful in the end. We're going to plan
Point taken.
So,
Does somebody online have a comment?
yes.
Randall
Oh,
here.
Rand,
I'm
go
trying
ahead.
to say a couple of sentences. Regarding the energy element, I have 3 points. Hello?
Yeah, I'm just having a hard time hearing what he's like. It's like
Okay, I'll try to speak
muddled.
up.
Yeah, it's kind of muddled. Yeah, I was just trying to. Go ahead, Rand.
Regarding the energy element, the purpose statement, in my opinion, I don't really like the word sustainable alone in the purpose statement. I think, and when you do an internet search on the term sustainable, hand in hand is renewable, which is, the solar and wind. And nowhere in our purpose statement are we referring to the more reliable, in my opinion, energies such as natural gas, coal, nuclear energy. And I think it's important to maintain the traditional energy infrastructure and include these energies within the plan as well. If we're going out of our way to describe green energy, we should go out of our way to describe what has allowed us to get this far in Cochise County, which is the more traditional energy. And so that was point number 1. Number 2, and can you still hear me?
Yep.
Point number 2, except for a handful of short-term construction jobs, the people of Cochise County benefit very little with renewable energy. Outside interests, and again, this is my opinion, outside interests purchase our land for pennies on the dollar, take what resources they want, then distribute the energy, manufacturing, and profits outside of Cochise County. So we don't benefit all that much, and it destroys our landscape. Point number 3, neither the Cochise County Community Wildfire Protection Plan nor the Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan have yet to address the county's response to renewable energy disasters due to fire, hail, wind, or flood. And this is where it seems like we're putting the cart before the horse. I mean, how is it that we're pushing renewable energy, yet we have no mitigation plan anywhere in Cochise County to address disasters?
Yeah.
And this is going to kill us at some point, because a fire will occur, I guarantee you, and there will be no plan in place to address it,
Gotcha.
unless I missed it. And then my last point, I would personally love to remove the term climate change throughout the entire document.
Thanks, kid.
And that's it. And then on the transportation, I agree with Supervisor Gomez. There needs to be a much greater emphasis on the port of entry, because that is potentially tens of millions of dollars annually that will come to Cochise County. And to ignore that is to harm us greatly. And that's it on my comments.
Yeah, good points. Thanks.
Just
Oh, good.
was thinking about energy, picking up on the phone call. You know, years ago, in another life, I got to visit a nuclear submarine. He took off from San Diego, went on. But that nuclear submarine was powered by a nuclear reactor. That nuclear reactor was 2.5 feet wide,
Yeah.
3 foot tall. It was like half a disc. And it powered that submarine for 30 years. The life of that nuclear reactor is classified. And it produced so much energy. It was clean and it was all right. And I later discovered that they replaced them, whether they're alive or dead or whatever. And in Wyoming, there's a mine.
Yeah, they got a 20-year refurb on ships that every 20 years the Navy does a refurb on them. So that's, I think,
how long they last.
right.
So it's classified. And in such a small
Yeah.
area, I think it's something that we need to look into. Because it'll power a lot of stuff in Cochise County, and it won't harm the fragile environment that we try to manage on the birds or anything.
Yeah, the other thing, I mean, this is a little crazy, but I saw it somewhere. I can't remember where I read it. We have a large, deep salt water basin deep in this county. It's got a lot of salt in it, and nuclear power plants are great at taking salty water and turning it into fresh water too.
Yeah.
That's the other benefit of that. And I don't want to make an excuse to suck water out of places that we're not sucking water as it is, but I'm just saying you could technically use that as an alternate water source if we wanted to do that. Somebody told me it's really deep. It's like 6,000 feet down or 4,000. I have to get a geologist. I'm not an expert on that. I'm sure Allison Morse will correct me on it, you know, but yeah, somebody told me that. I can't remember who it was. I was
And
thinking.
we'll allow big strategic plans for 30 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because energy would not be the limiting factor.
So the commercial reactors have the ability to swap fuel out. So it doesn't even really do much to do that, especially the new ones. So yeah, that every 15, 20 years they could swap out the fuel and redo it. And I know the new ones are going to be able to recycle the rods, and I think they can recover 90% of them and put them back, and only 5 to 10% becomes waste. So it's just a more efficient way to create electricity. And we're going to need lots of electricity. Like I said, the world is going online, whether we like it or not. But that is the future. We either could sit on the beach and let the wave crash on us, or we can get on the surfboards and ride the wave. I would rather ride the wave. You know, That's just my 2 cents. And maybe that is because the new data centers and I think it was the Google one. The Google one is going to be liquid cooled, self-contained, so it doesn't use a lot of water either. So when we talk to these companies that might want to put data centers in, obviously because of the sensitivity with the water issue, make sure they have self-contained cooling systems to reduce that, and then maybe there'll be less opposition to it. So,
One comment
yeah.
regarding business in the county and generating revenue and keeping us happy and healthy is necessary for these big projects, nuclear, railroads, and all that stuff. We want to keep encouraging that and make it easier for those to happen. But from my perspective in my life, the individual is also important. The self-employed.
The entrepreneur.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And that is a hard road to hoe for many people because there's so many obstacles. I would like to make it easier. I don't want them burning tires next door to my house, but I want the individual to have more opportunity unfettered by government overbearing. But I would encourage it.
Yeah.
Would help that. Zones would help that.
Yeah.
Development zones.
So going forward, like area plans, right?
Mhm.
I was looking at the little map for the area plans, and it's all kind of west of the Mule Mountains. Like, why is that? Why is it like I don't see one for Douglas? Well, there's a little one for Elfrida, but nothing up. I guess what is that 191? Is that Wilcox?
What page are you on?
I'm on page
That's
34.
Pierce Sun
Is
site.
that Pierce Sunsite?
Yeah.
Is that something we can encourage communities to do? I mean, you reach out to say, that's
Yeah.
what happens.
Starting actually on page 33 is where we talk about area plans. Area plans are a part of the comprehensive plan. To date, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them. They were all adopted between the years of 1998 and 2006. And on the next page is a map of where they are. Couple issues. It's not equitable in terms of where they are. They haven't been updated. What we recommend in the comp plan is shifting away from that
Okay.
and moving towards regional community profiles. So instead of select areas, every place in the county, it's like an election district, every place in the county would be covered by a regional profile. And that would be currently these area plans are part of the comp plan, and they would be part of this comp plan until we develop these regional community profiles, which would be an appendix item and just an amendment to the comp plan once this goes through, which would give just kind of historical, cultural context to each part of the county, every single part of it, not just select parts like we have currently. Highlight just within each area the land use, infrastructure, environmental considerations that face that specific community, because it's different in Douglas than it is in Benson.
So you would do region like, say, going Douglas up north to maybe McNeil and all the way over to the New Mexico
Yeah,
border or something like that.
we'd find boundaries that make sense,
Makes sense,
basically.
okay.
But everybody would be covered within these regional profiles.
I think that's a good idea, okay.
I mean, a lot of times what happens though is the cities end up annexing a lot of that when you start building large industrial or commercial infrastructure because they want the property taxes, right?
Well, and this kind of goes to the fire
Because
district.
you even said, right, is Douglas going to line annex all the way down? Right.
And that's why I don't want to pave any more roads.
Right.
Because we paved, they
And
want, you were talking about paving 26. The minute we pave it, they're going to annex it. And they annex it, and I've told them this to the city council, they go for 50 plus 1. They don't go 100% knocking on every door. Once they hit 50 plus
That's
1,
right. That's what the statute says.
they stop.
50% of the property value.
Yeah, the property value.
Right.
So what's happened now, you've got Sunnyside who had, and the Douglas annexed the richest homes, right? The ones that have the most value. And so now they have a budget they just passed. It was then annexed. I have to ask you whether the budget still stands. And then, and then, so we have so much no man's land, like Cochise College is no man's land. There's nobody who really has the I guess, authority or the responsibility if there's a fire to cover Cochise College.
You bring up a good point. This was a crazy idea that we were floating around because I got issues out by me. People can't get homeowners insurance. And it's stifling growth in a lot of areas because of insurance companies not wanting to award homeowners insurance because there's no fire departments out there. What about the crazy idea of a county fire department? And then that way there, we could do a county-wide fire district and then strategically place fire departments.
Yeah.
Rather than, I know some of you fire district guys might not like that idea, but I mean, as far as helping growth,
That's going to be huge.
yeah.
You've got Silver Creek.
And then we have instead of a sheriff, we have a sheriff and a fire chief.
I know somebody in authority in the judicial system that wants a national fire department.
A national fire, we have a national fire department.
You have to understand the differences even between districts can be extreme.
Well, you put a fire station here and you put a captain in charge of it and he's the guy that runs it for that. And you put a fire station here, put a captain, but you have a fire chief that manages the whole county. And then you have a low and even, because I'll give you an example. I don't, Laura, there's been significant tax increases in fire districts recently where they're jacking the daylights up on people's property taxes, right? And that's because they don't have the tax base. And they're trying to build infrastructure with fire trucks and defibrillators and air tanks and all that. And so they go out and buy this stuff and then they turn around and they jack the taxes up because this community can't support that infrastructure. If it was county-wide, and then we could do I know Sharon's right, so freaking out. But I mean, if it was county-wide and you were able to do a low tax county-wide and then strategically place it, fire departments. Yeah, Sharon, go ahead.
Something to consider in this conversation.
I'm just flowing crazy ideas.
I know.
To help growth.
And I understand where you're trying to expand services to support growth. There are a multitude of concerns I would have, starting with the retirement and pension programs of fire departments and how that would impact the county budget.
We don't
The workforce.
put them on
These are-
pension
these are-
plans.
these
We
are
do
annoying
401k
details,
for
I
everybody.
understand,
But
But
you
they
gotta-
are
You
significant.
got to understand too that they don't
Cost
have
drivers.
anything. Sunnyside, Furville,
They're
Elfrida,
volunteers right now.
they're volunteers, okay? And maybe can do something where they kind of stay that way but get paid. Because what's happening is Elfrida is struggling, Sunnyside is struggling. They cover that whole area. Then you got Purville who just jacked up the tax to 297%.
Yeah.
So it went from $38 on somebody's bill to $178. That's not including Cochise College Foundation, or that tax, property tax, city tax, county tax. It is a real issue. And then what I have is people in Silver Creek, up Leslie Canyon Road, Glen Road, Double Adobe. You guys are not covered by anyone, and people are not being able to. They don't want to bill because they can't get insurance. There is a way, and I understand what you're saying, but they right now are volunteers. They get paid for going out. Sunnyside is a wildland fire district. So they go out and they fight wildfires. They go to California. And I think that there's a way to do it that doesn't have to be pensions. They're not getting anything now. They're just happy that they want to protect their community and they want to be involved. So there's a way to do it that you don't have to follow all the other
And we give them the
paths.
opportunity to, if they don't want to do it, then they don't do it. They just don't get the service.
Once you could fight through the infighting, all government, the FBI and the CIA, and they don't want to work together. You're going to have all these fire districts. You can get through it, but it'll take years.
But
It'll take time.
Elfrida and Sunnyside right now want to join. That's a huge, huge
Well,
portion.
they can do that.
Just something to float. Yeah, let's get this jail built and then we'll start looking at, somebody, but I'm talking, this is going out to 2040, 2040,
45.
right?
And
20,
some
24.
put in.
So that's, I'm just saying, consider, because I know for a fact it is impeding growth right now.
Yes.
It is impeding growth. It is a significant impediment to growth. So that's kind of why, just so.
Bill, it's such a poor community to raise their taxes 300% and their special district I had people call me and I asked you, how did I not know it was going to be raised 300%? And you told me, well, there's nothing you can do about it. This is a special district.
Yep,
It's got their own board.
Title 48.
Remember, you said, I didn't know I signed that.
But that's their problem,
That's their problem.
all right?
But because there's no leadership, there's no real ability to do it correctly, the
You get a consolidation of effort, right? You get one fire chief and
Right.
staff, then you get one procurement that saves money because they can buy in bulk. They save costs. There's a benefit of it if you do that way, but it is a huge infrastructure undertaking.
But
Right
if
now,
now we
we're-
start talking.
We could put the fire chief under the county managers, or under the county
I
administrator.
don't want one. Either.
Or we could make it an elected office.
But
a
the
county elected
consequences
office.
right now are really dire for these people. So we can't get afraid of going forward and doing something new and taking on a new challenge. Because that's what elected officials are supposed to do. See where there's a problem, find another answer, because what's been happening is not working.
He who dares wins.
And others. It's process to do.
Well, I mean, yeah, but I mean, this is just something to think of because we got some time, right? You know, but I'm saying as we start to grow and try to shift the economy, we're going to have to deal with the fire problem because businesses aren't going to be building if they can't get guarantees that fire trucks are going to show up, you know?
And we
So right now, we're going through an economic development plan proposal as well.
Right.
Is that something that's worth bringing into the countywide
Yeah, I think
economic
so.
development plan to see if
Well, that's
you know,
fine.
the fire service and things like that, not the comprehensive plan, but the economic development?
Right. That's what I'm just
Roadmap.
saying. That it's something we probably need because I can't tell you how many people I've talked to that said that it is hard to get homeowners
Yeah,
insurance.
well, they
It
can't.
is hard to get business insurance, or they pay a BS crazy premium that is off the chart. And that is a discouragement when they can go next door and not pay that much for insurance because there's a fire department a block away, right? So, I mean, that's, you know, something to, and then there's mutual aid with the cities where the cities wouldn't be part of it. If I were to envision it, it would exempt the cities because they have their own fire departments, so that's fine. So those people would not pay the fire district property tax. But if you're in the unincorporated part of the county, I think it would be beneficial for, as a way to raise a flat rate and make it fair across the board so these small little communities don't get stuck with these high property taxes.
And the other problem that's happening is in Douglas, they created islands where they're in the.
Well, that's like Sierra Vista's got them
Yeah,
all too.
and then, you know, these people are calling me, we can't get any, the city of Douglas will not go there because it's a county island. These guys are not getting service because it's a poor
Something
neighborhood
to think about.
and they don't want to
Just
answer.
5 years from now.
But it'll be good for the economic plan to kind of start to look at that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we do have on page 124, the port of entry. It is called out a little bit, but, you know, I understand what you're saying about beefing that up.
I think it needs to be more prominent because it has, like this one woman said, this is an opportunity in 2 generations. So we need to because if I was somebody who was going to come and say, what's going on with this port of entry? And I'm looking at something like this and it's all the way on page 127. And I say, well, you know, really, is it really viable? Because if you have something that's great, that it has that much potential to change the community, I would think you would have it throughout, you know, as far as the ability in trade and, you know, agriculture. And maybe we can get with this whole drone program that the sheriff has
This
little light
is a
manufacturing.
scary chart right here.
Which one is that?
This is the economic median household income to cost of living,
What page is that?
123.
123. That is a scary.
So we have to think of light manufacturing. How can we do that in the whole drone program?
Why did I run for this?
I know.
Because
That's scary.
that is our economic profile right now is not good.
It's been run terrible for the last 4 or 5 years.
30 years, Robert. 30 years. It has not changed in 30 years.
So it's not,
No, I know. It's just half of the county population makes less than 50 grand a year.
It's scary. So on
as
page,
you said earlier, I'm sorry,
no, okay.
I think it's upside down. It used to be 40, 50 years ago that individuals made more money than government jobs were. It flipped slowly though, but it did flip. And now government jobs are the highest paying jobs. I don't see that as a good mix. It's not a good balance.
So on page 45, mines in Cochise County, you guys have here lithium as a, where was it?
That is a turd in the punch bowl. I'll tell you
Yep.
that right now.
Yep. I mean, I think what Freeport has said to me is, they're booming in Thatcher because that's where the copper is, right? They told me we're never going to mine down here or Douglas.
Well, Johnson just opened up a new one just on the other side of I-10 by me.
Is
And
that
that's, yeah,
copper?
it's all copper and molybdenum out there. And that's what, now,
And
lithium is, the discussion on the lithium mine is in the Wilcox Playa, which is why it's gotten such negative feedback.
It uses a lot of water.
It uses a lot of water, and it uses the water through evaporation because they got to pull all the salts that contain the lithium, allow it to dry, and then process it. So that is why there's a lot of it's not really and I'm not in favor of subsidizing the electric car business in Cochise County. If they want to go find lithium, but if there was a way to do it without using so much water, I might be willing to look at it, but I don't think there's unless you put a big desalinization plant right next to it and pump it right back in the ground. I don't know. Just saying.
So that's just something that we might.
It's
want to
just
think about.
in its current plan, it's not a good one.
Right.
The current planned approach, I think, is a problem. Without a significant mitigation for water use, I don't think it's going to go anywhere. There's significant opposition to it.
So I want to ask on page 48, you have the PM10 non-attainment, and it's just Douglas. Is that come from the smelter, or what is that? What is that from?
It could historically have come from the smelter.
Yeah, we've got a lot of lupus and a lot of contaminants there, so that is still in effect.
It's still in effect.
Do we see that ever coming off the
I
map?
hope so. I hope so. Yeah, until it is by the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality, like it has to stay, and it's a land use consideration.
And that is covering the new commercial port and all the industrial and all the growth that we're thinking of. So, I mean, is that something that just has been there? How we kind of really push back and say, why you guys have this? Well, how long are you going to keep it there?
Well, the ADQ has a non-attainment state implementation plan, which is supposed to address that and hopefully mitigate
Have
it.
they done it?
Yeah,
That's-
there is one in effect, but it hasn't successfully eliminated the presence of the PM10
So how long
non-attainment
has this
zone.
been in existence since the 1970s, this new PM10 non-attainment, or is it recent?
I'm not sure.
Okay,
I can look into
that's something we should
Yeah.
probably look at following
Okay.
up, okay?
I could speak to that a little bit if you want. This is
Sure.
Jackie.
Yeah, Jack,
Cool,
good.
Jackie.
The PMTM is still active. ADQ does come out and do studies almost every year. And when the Port of Entry had to do additional testing for James Ranch Road to get approved, that's why there was a delay in in that project. So it is still active, and it's also from the smelter, and then it was also from Paul Spur's,
Oh, the line plant,
the line plant, right.
okay.
So it is still active. They still do stuff. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, I think she's almost done talking.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Dylan, go ahead.
I have a meeting back at the
Go ahead.
office I have to get back to. I have to excuse myself, but for your question, we can talk. Feel free to email.
Okay,
We can definitely resolve any questions that we have.
okay, thanks. So what is page 50, viticulture, what does that mean?
Page 50.
Yeah, it's in, I didn't have this, I was just reading it online. Viticulture was,
But the wine growing.
yeah, what does that mean? Because I saw that in several,
Oh, yeah, to promote our wine industry. We're the premier grape growing for wine.
You did it today. You approved 2 liquor licenses for,
So that was
200.
viticulture, viticulture, okay, cool, I didn't know that. Policy 2, I think on page 50, we talked, string the regional economy for climate, wait, maybe this isn't it, but there was a policy goal which I think we needed to expand with trade with Sonora. And I have policy 2. I wonder where I brought that from. I'll figure it out and send it to you, but I think it just talked about, like, it was just very minimal, and I think we would, our policies to expand greatly all the different, what I want to say, like the cattle, the health care, have medical tourism, do cattle, mines, minerals with Grupo Mexico, with different kinds of products from Sonora. So I was just thinking, and maybe even farther into Chihuahua too. I mean, and so we need to really expand our language to say we really want
It's
to.
policy 2, like right before where you're talking about.
Okay, is that policy?
Yeah, so strengthening cross-border partnerships in Sonora to expand trade, logistics, supply chain opportunities. But
Right.
yeah, we can.
I think we can get a little bit more dive deeper and talk about all the different industries, agriculture, cattle, mines, medical tourism, stuff like that. Because the one thing in the health thing, we didn't really talk about medical tourism. And Sonora has a huge holistic program. They've got, Preta has so many doctors and nurses and clinics over there that maybe we need to talk about expanding that, like Nogales and like Tijuana. Tijuana is huge in the medical tourism. It's amazing. So that might be something that, as far as economic development, we can include in that.
The other scary slide, page 13, this scares the bejesus. This is what I rail on this all the time.
On page what, 13?
Yeah, 13. We have 38% of our population is in the primary wage earning years
Yeah.
in this county, between 20 and 55. 38%. 38% is north of that, older than that, and 23% is younger than that. So we have almost only a third of our population generating revenue for this county. That's
because there's no job.
just irritates the living daylights out of me every time I see these numbers. And I don't think anybody is grasping that we have a problem. We have a problem in this county.
And I'm old, I'm going to say it, but when you have a retirement community that gets older, they get less adaptable to change.
That's probably
and
true.
acceptance,
But
so.
we've got to get the economy going here, because, and that's the other thing. Look at this, 18% between 5 and 19. There's your job force getting ready to leave high school. And where are they going? They're going like my kid. They're going to go up to Mesa and work up in Phoenix.
Yeah.
That's where the jobs are at. So we got to figure something out. I mean, I know you're trying, and I know you're trying with the economic plan, but I mean, we got to get serious. I think we really got to get serious. And everything else is tied to that.
Yeah.
Right? Population, HERF revenue. It's all state shared revenue. Our money is being literally stolen out from under us by Maricopa County and now Pinal County.
Yeah.
Pinal County is going to be scarfing our money like crazy. So we've got to, if we don't start keeping up, we're done. We're going to be annexed by Pima County. I'm just being facetious.
No, but it could
Don't
be-
start with the emails. I did not advocate for annexation. I'm just being, but yeah, that's my concern. We're going to be bedroom communities for Pima
Benson
County.
might be-
Supervisors.
Yeah.
I would like to thank both of you and Mr. Crosby, if he's up there somewhere, for appointing me again to the commission. Because I think it's really important, and I take that job very seriously.
And I think you guys got a real serious job, because you are the first line of developing this plan.
And that is why I am committed to helping the individual have a business or a business at the lowest level. And if they can work up, get their piece of the American dream in Cochise County. It's hard. I connect with those people because I've always been with them.
Yeah.
And I get it, day one. The struggles, the obstacles, how hard it is, the taxes, the reports you have to turn into some agency just so you can make a living. And I sympathize and I encourage those people. And that's how I will behave on the committee. If people come to us, and they want to try something, I'm all for it. Assuming it isn't put on nuclear reactors and the I might favor that. Yeah. Standards.
So on page 59, you have railroads. and I saw that there was no mention of the possibility of going up 191. So we may want to just say, you know, it's a possibility so that, because that's what I talked to from the Mexican guys and someone, I've heard, oh, Mexico, you know.
Yeah, we
some of these private
we need to look at the rail
guys. Yeah.
potential for the county,
And so-
especially with the port. I mean, we really got to look at the rail.
And so that might just want to be mentioned so that if someone's looking, an investor, they go, oh, well, they're thinking about this, you know, because it's not in there.
Especially since we can tie into the rail line on I-10.
Exactly. And then on page 68, I'm sorry if I'm
No, you're doing good,
Okay.
Kathleen. You're generating discussion.
because I actually read all this stuff till 9, like 3 to 9. On page, let's see, what did I say? 63. It's the airport. Yeah, airports, right? What did I say in my notes? So the airports, the county owns 2, right? So when we say Cochise County Airport, that's Wilcox.
Yes.
Okay, and then BDI. I think when we talk about the BDI, we should talk in there that this is an airport that can actually handle the largest commercial planes, like Amazon, right? Because I think that's important to put in there because that's really rare. That's a real advantage that we have that can be part of dealing with, you know, any of the imports coming from Mexico is that airport can actually support or sustain these big aircraft.
Okay.
Another question I'm going to ask you, 75 about water, right? Now, I've heard, when I look at this is the Douglas Basin, the green, right? I heard that Bisbee draws their water from San Pedro, not from the Douglas Basin. Is that true? And so why would they be in the Douglas Basin?
So there's 2 different things here. This is the watership boundaries versus the
Okay.
aquifer.
Okay,
This is which way the water runs.
so that's the way the water runs. Okay. So, because what I'm finding, you know, Bisbee is against growth. I'm sorry, Bisbee, but you are. And then they tend to want to tell the Douglas Basin, the people of McNeil, Alfreda, as we saw with that feedlot.
They're like right on the edge, though.
Yeah, and I understood that so that's the water system. The aquifer would be, they would not be part of the Douglas Basin for where they get their water, correct?
Well, and then on page 81 is community water systems and water districts.
Okay,
That's going to be a little more applicable.
because I think it's also important for, like, I believe Bisbee has a right to decide what they want to be and what they want to do. I do not think they have a right to then try to tell Douglas, Alfreda, McNeil, what they feel they should do. And so sometimes, you know, drawing that boundary, you know, is kind of good in understanding this comprehensive plan. Each community has its own direction. Bisbee has its own, and Douglas, Alfreda, McNeil, and Double have their own, and that is going to be cattle. I'm sorry, they feel like it's a dying industry. It's the biggest export from Sonora around the world. So I think sometimes we have to be a little bit clearer on, like, you know, if we can, when we talk about regional things, what the specific, because it's so different from Wilcox to Douglas. I mean, I'm looking at you, Jerry.
All the water users in the AMA, or Douglas and all, are aquifer. The water sheds through the Whitewater Drum, and then south into Mexico. And we share the aquifer with Mexico, one of the more than Bisbee. Bisbee has a sliver of the water, but they voted. And we have competing interests with Bisbee as land users and water users.
Yeah.
In Sulphur Springs. So we don't understand how Bisbee got so much clout and respect for the water that we feel goes from here to Naco.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense that that little piece that trickle of water that they get from that watershed and that sub-watershed was enough to give them a full boat. Because we were confident that we were not going to have anything.
Right, because we were doing well with what we had.
Underestimated the business. And we want to change that. We're not easy with it at all.
Yeah.
We should just be trying to do everything like the last water. We see Bisbee trying to get half of whatever projects we get for taxes, school, or otherwise.
Yes.
And Bisbee does nothing and they expect tax. You know, they don't need.
And talking about hospitals, so I talked to Northwest, they might be interested, I'm going to talk to Yuma. Hospital districts, right? I know because I worked at the hospital and the CEO of Copper Queen, the late Dixon, told me I want Douglas Hospital District because of the statistics where we can get grant money. Bisbee is a community of 5,000 people. Douglas is a community of 16,000 people. All the statistics that generate these grants come from the Douglas population, yet we don't have a hospital.
Hospital districts are not relegated to the boundary of a municipality. You can
Yeah.
expand that district out to cover.
We had tried to go up to McNeil, but we had so many absentee landholders that we couldn't get them to respond to joining the hospital district.
Trying to put it on statement. He said, for this to be considered as a district, we delineated the district, did whatever. But what happened, what we discovered is you got to have 51% of the landowners.
Right.
We have more than 50% land ownership that are absent.
Yeah, so you could never get it.
And we contacted those people, wrote a bunch of letters and all that. Chicago, whatever, New York, Germany, Japan. Most people don't give a damn about what happens
No.
if we have a hospital. Most of them didn't respond and all that. So
you're looking at a legislative fix to designate the boundary.
Yeah.
yeah, we worked with them and we did have we proposed hospital visit with Douglas. And we got busy with a bunch of citizens and went out and found out who owned what property. And we wrote letters. And we found out that just like by 2 or 3%, the land ownership in that proposed district was absentee owners.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to look at it, but do we have anything, I mean, I don't know, maybe if we want to put anything, because you did talk about the health, in the health section, you know, about Vincent Wilcox, Sierra Vista, and Bisbee. And I think, you know, I don't know if I'm ready, I don't know, we have to, I'm real hopeful that in talking to these, and I know Service is going to hear, the Herald's going to hear me, they want to do a story, but this is a very beginning steps of trying to build a hospital. Looks very, very good. But again, I'm looking at a lot of different venues. So Service, the Herald is not a story yet and when it does become a story, I'll let you know. But we're just, because what happens is Copper Queen doesn't want to lose that money. And so they're going to fight us constantly, but we're a bigger community. And with the state prison out there, and with the commercial port of entry, it makes sense.
There's a lot of things that have changed since we were trying to create a hospital.
Right.
All of these mental health issues.
That's right.
There's a lot of money behind that that's willing to go to Douglas and we can get a hospital.
Like co-author credit or something?
We need to figure that out and it fits really well and beautifully with our trying to develop a better economy in Douglas.
Well, because what do they say? It's about schools and hospitals. That's why people move to Narian.
In our informal surveys of people that didn't move to Douglas, one of the big reasons was no hospital.
And that's why we had a lot leave when the hospital closed.
Yeah. So we can get a hospital, that'll really be a positive step in our reclaiming our economic stability.
We can add a little bit to that, the public
Okay.
services and facilities element.
Yeah, that would be great.
It's in there, because we talk about other districts, like the fire districts and substations and facilities.
So again, on 125, you have the economic development element, major projects and infrastructure. And I didn't see the court mentioned very highly in there. That was it was broadband. You got
Before,
what?
the page before
The page before major projects. Okay, new port of entry. Okay, that's where I missed it. But you talk about a new port of entry, but you don't say new commercial port of entry.
Okay.
Okay, and I think that makes a difference between that and because people are just going to think about the Raul Castro port and not the new commercial port.
Are they going to name it?
It's already named Raul Castro.
Oh, it is?
That's the old one.
That's the old, but are they going to name the new one after Raul Grijalva? So you have the Raul Castro, Raul Grijalva?
I think we should just not name
I mean,
it.
he's the guy that brought home, I'm just saying, you know how it goes. He's the guy that brought home the bacon for that project, you know? Just saying, that's how Congress works.
No. And then 128, on 128, you talk about opportunity zone. And I was wondering, and so that's all that. So do you know how the opportunity zones get decided? Is that as a legislative thing?
Yes,
Federally.
and the governor,
And the governor.
yeah.
And so these are the opportunity zones, and that little space right there is, I guess, Douglas municipality. Is that why is that all Douglas, I guess?
There's tax incentives that go with that, right? So
Right.
there's business tax, there's property tax, and there's certain incentives they get, and there's a few other things. I can't recall exactly.
So I mean, why wouldn't we want to do 191? Why wouldn't we want to try to expand opportunity?
Well, it's
There's an allocation formula, and
Yeah.
you're only
Ah.
yeah,
allowed
it's a
so much.
balance of how many you're allowed to have. So it's applied statewide.
Yeah.
So it's not.
What about these new zones that was supposedly Trump had? Did you, gosh, I wish I had my notes. I was talking to someone who said that with Trump being in, he was establishing or bringing back his LEAP, or it was something else that he had during his first term, but had been taken away and was a lot easier to get. And I'll find out
All right.
and I'll give you that information. Okay.
All right.
And my last thing, 131, hit 131. Let's see, the goal for,
A border opportunity.
yeah, border opportunities. I'd like to really kind of, and Jerry, look at that one. It's on page 131. Border opportunities maximize port of entry and trade. If we could be a little bit like more specific about all the different industries that we could bring in, I think that would be a good step. Yeah. And then on 135, you say we're going to at least have one more public hearing after this? Is that
2 public
two
hearings.
public hearings? Okay.
Yeah, this is a work session. We've been having work sessions. We've been having public meetings. But the public hearings, there's a minimum of 2 required.
Okay.
And it's generally after it's done, a 60-day review comes before the Planning and Zoning Commission to recommend approval. And then it would come before you guys to ultimately adopt in the form of a resolution.
Well, you know, on 129, you have a map that shows the economic development.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's that part of the border, there's unrealistic.
Yeah.
We've been working hard to move all of the industrial stuff south of Highway 80 to the border and all that, make some progress there. But we need to do a better job. So we're designating an area for industrial development.
Yeah, okay. And that's all I have.
That's good.
Great. I mean, I just sent this to you pretty recently. It's a big plan. If you go through it again
I am able to.
and you come up with more suggestions, Commission, I'm bringing it back to you at our next meeting. Hopefully, we shouldn't have as many items. So we'll have more time to devote to this. And it won't be that presentation. I'll have a different presentation. But more so, it's just to go through each element and take your suggestions. And based on what I've received today, I will make some changes. So
Should we highlight those in the draft? Just redraft? Or should we do, it's such a huge document.
I know. What I'll do in the presentation for November is if it's a change based on comments I received today, I'll asterisk it or I'll point it out specifically.
Keep encourage the commissioners to review it every time they do, the document gets smaller.
I feel it'll get bigger. But
You want me to send you my little
yeah,
things? Okay,
yeah.
I'll do that.
I'm happy to take any and all comments.
All right.
Okay.
Any last minute comments, questions? None? Our next official board meeting is a special board meeting on November 4th to approve demands. So although we got a bunch of stuff going on, we just won't be having a board meeting event. So November 4th, 10 o'clock will be the next shindig of the board when we meet again officially. So with that, thanks everybody. We're adjourned.